All right, everyone, welcome to Golden Hour. If you're not paying attention, just give us a couple moments just to make a quick introduction and to welcome you to our Tech Talk. This is in addition to the program, so listen in as you can. Obviously, continue to talk to folks, but know that we're going to be talking about a really important subject. So I think it's worth mentioning that the entire world is on fire or suffering from climate change in some way, shape, or form. And so we've dedicated this Tech Talk to clean energy. And before we kick that off, I want everyone to just take a moment to realize how lucky we are to be sitting here and enjoying this night, and also to give Tom and the Great Culture team a little bit of thanks for bringing everyone together consistently. The Cleveland entrepreneurs and the artists, everyone is here to further their career, work with each other, try to make good friends, to figure something out, to move over the next obstacle. And so talk to people, enjoy, and I'm going to welcome up to the stage our three panelists, well, two panelists, one moderator. Jing Lyon from BRITE Energy Innovators will be moderating. This is a local accelerator / business support organization that focuses on energy technology companies. She can do a little bit of a better intro. And then Britt Corsi, who is a local sustainability founder and entrepreneur. She works for EarthABC. And then Emily Dickens from Octet Scientific. Welcome.
Hello.
Check, check.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, like Polly said, I work for BRITE Energy Innovators. We are the only energy tech incubator in the state of Ohio. We work with over 60 different companies that are trying to do good stuff in clean energy technologies. And with me are two people who are part of companies that are members of our organization. So I'm going to start it off by letting them do their intro and their 30-second elevator pitch.
Yeah, great. I will start. Can everyone hear me? Just want to make sure. All right. My name is Emily Dickens. I am the head of product development for Cleveland startup Octet Scientific. And we are making new chemicals for zinc-based battery technology, which is a safer and more sustainable option to put on our grid for backup power. And it's a very versatile technology used in a lot of applications, which we'll get into more.
Awesome. Can you hear me? My name is Britt Corsi. I'm the founder of EarthABC. We're based here in Northeast Ohio, and we are working on assembling an information network or search engine for everything clean tech, sustainable, energy related, so that we can accelerate climate action.
Perfect. So I think I want to start off with discussing about your journeys and how you came to clean energy. Did you always know that you wanted to do this, or did it kind of find you? So
I can start again. Yeah, I would say growing up, I was always a huge nature nerd. I loved just being outside, animals, everything. So as I was growing up, I really was fascinated by windmills and solar panels and clean energy in general. So as I was coming into my undergrad, I really was motivated to find a career in that area. And one thing led to another. I went to Case Western Reserve just down the street and did chemical engineering there. And it happens that many professors there are doing research in energy storage. So I started research there, fell in love, and have pursued a career in energy storage ever since.
So a bit of a different journey. My past 10 years have been building up different startup companies, and a couple years ago I landed in a NASA cohort for technology and stumbled upon one of their climate technology portfolios and ended up spinning off our startup based on that. But primarily, there's a lot of real-world problems, and that's what I want to solve for. And I think not a lot of people go after the real problems that can be solved instead of making, gadgets and gizmos. We could be doing real stuff here.
So talking about doing real-world stuff with the record-breaking heat waves and like Lake Mead dropping record low this week. let's talk about the crisis and what do you see in climate crisis, the biggest challenges, what are some opportunities? Let's dig in there. Britt, do you want to start?
Yeah. So from a climate crisis perspective, we have a big gap in people who haven't paid attention for a really, really long time. And now our generation is kind of plopped in the middle of it and we're expected to figure it out or go the next 20 years and maybe there's nothing left, who knows? But there's a big gap between people who are doing something and people who are not. And so related to the climate crisis, we have your government who's not all operating on the same page, your big corporations who are still doing things that are detrimental to climate. And then you have small people like me who are just asking for somebody to support different startups in the energy space so that we can start making a real difference.
Yeah, great. To go off of that a little bit, the opportunities here, I think throughout the past years, there's really been a lot of startups, entrepreneurship, and things happening, and that's starting to leak in, as we see in Cleveland, not from only the coasts, but centrally and in other countries as well. It needs to be sped up. It needs to be, taken on more aggressively. But the promising thing here is I see that there are some of our brightest minds in this generation are really passionate about this topic and eager to help take it on. So I think what we need more of is support from, just like Britt said, from the government, from this other people that haven't done things for years. They need to support the people who are eager to take this challenge on.
Let's dig into that a little bit more and talk about specific sectors that you guys are in. Emily, I know you're in energy storage, so can you just talk about the sector, what's going on, what are some exciting things that are happening?
Yeah. I mean, the energy storage world is vast, and I could talk about it for hours and hours, so I'll kind of break it up. What I'm sure many people are familiar with is the mobility sector, electric vehicles, and lithium-ion batteries. Those are really hot topics right now, especially with news about lithium supply chain and what we're going to do there. So, as far as I see it, I think in mobility, we need lithium-ion batteries. They are the most energy-dense batteries, but we also really need to look at recyclability of lithium-ion. So there are startups working towards that, but that needs to be a primary focus that, frankly, not many people care about now because it's tomorrow's problem. But if you think about it, that's what got us in this situation in the first place, where we are scrambling to get the climate crisis under control. So, with our resources strained on mobility, this leaves a huge opportunity for grid storage to offset renewable energy as well as, shaving energy during peak times of the day where we're using a lot of energy and we need to get more. Batteries are typically used or other energy storage devices. So in those windows, there is where I'm working, where I'm playing with the zinc-based battery technologies. They are great, they're safe, they're sustainable, they can be operable from, below 0 degrees to over 50 degrees Celsius, which lithium-ion just really cannot do. And then as you're looking into even seasonal energy storage, storing solar power you get from the summer to be used in the winter time, there's more energy technology that's being developed there. For example, Form Energy working on iron flow batteries. There's even non-electrochemical, so non-battery technologies, such as Energy Vault that's using a gravity storage to store this energy. So there's a lot of opportunity there, a lot of things happening, and there's a lot of hype around it too, right? So there is different technologies popping up and which ones are really gonna push through. And I think, ones that are proven technologies that we know can actually deliver the energy that we need, and that can also be scaled up to the level that we need.
Awesome, and that brings us right to so many different technologies that are out there. Some of them, like you said, are hype. Some of them are really realistic, but people don't know about them. So Britt, let's talk about how we're going to help solve that problem. I think that's the space that you're trying to fill.
Yeah, exactly. So I did a lot of use case research on a few different sectors related to how our solution is going to actually help people, right? Because you don't build something just for shits and giggles. But so the biggest use cases that we saw were in commercial real estate, where a lot of folks want to do projects, developers want to do something, but they're not incentivized enough by the government, and the process is super messy. So our platform is able to kind of streamline some of that data for them. But one of the biggest use cases that I personally want to see come out of this is with local communities and municipalities who can offset so many different socioeconomic factors by bringing together different groups who are actively doing something related to sustainability and changing the energy systems in homes and apartments and buildings to where people are lowering their cost of living because we're able to do good by using clean energy while also changing some of the things that unfortunately hold people back.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. There is definitely a equity issue and concern around clean energy and just the sheer upfront costs. So do either of you guys have any thoughts or solutions around what can be done better?
I think it's a government thing. Most of it stems from people waiting to be incentivized by the government, and they do have programs that are starting to come out now that are more residential, solar-based programs for communities, especially in lower income communities, or weatherization grants that work to help make properties a little bit more better for energy. But ultimately, they're dropping billions of dollars in R&D and products. And at the end of the day, we truly do have most of the bulk of what we need to become clean and sustainable societies. We're just not deploying it at a rate that needs to be deployed. And the other scale is, while they're investing billions of dollars in these technologies, and that's great, maybe they're not ready for 5, 10, 20 years, and we're already past that cycle of over the red line of, making an impact in the first place. So most of it comes from incentives and funding that local municipalities actually can go after at the federal level and bring them to their communities for those lower income homes, rentals, whatever.
Let's talk a little more specifically about the zinc. Where does that play in the whole ecosystem to support circular economy, sustainability? Where's that piece that specifically zinc can support?
Yeah, so our company is working with all zinc battery manufacturers. As I mentioned earlier, zinc is a very versatile battery. So there are zinc batteries being used. They're actually your AA, your AAA household batteries. They're used in medical devices. But what we're seeing a lot is the growth of them in, backup power for data centers, right? Like Google, Microsoft, they're making these, they have so much data that uses so much power. So we can use batteries to power these or, in conjunction with renewables. And then there is the grid storage, right? So looking at larger plays. So all of these zinc battery manufacturers that we work really close with are starting their manufacturing with a circular model in mind. So they are looking at the recyclability from day one. They are getting these their recycling process established from day one. And that's something that I think we need to see from everything we're using, whether it be our solar panels, our windmills, our lithium-ion batteries. I think that's something that we need to be aware of as we're trying to, clean the energy that we're getting. We also need to realize that the materials that we're using will have an end of life, and what are we going to do with that end of life? And that's something that I've been really proud of in the zinc battery industry, is that's being thought of in the beginning, as well as the mining process and things like that for zinc is cleaner than other materials that we've been using to date.
So let's bring this a little closer to home. Britt, what is going on in clean energy and sustainability locally?
That's a mouthful. So it's interesting because I've spent the past couple of years getting to know the community a lot better in the sustainability space and clean energy space. And you have a lot of different players who are kind of still in their silos and separately operating and looking for information. So you have groups like Great Lakes Biomimicry who sets things up from a nature's perspective and is in touch with like all the PhDs and research and stuff we haven't even heard of, which is amazing, but we're just not there yet to incorporate it. And you have a lot of little groups that want to know more information about how they can do something more sustainable or how they can get into green infrastructure. But there's just a lot of barriers for them. Even the leaders in the fields that you would expect to be your subject matter experts are still asking questions, which is why we need resources like we're working on so that they have that access and it's something they could immediately turn to find the answers that they need.
Emily, you and Onus have had a lot of traction with Octet locally. What have you seen has worked well for you, and then what are additional things that locally we could be doing more of to support clean energy technologies?
Yeah, so I think what Onus and I have experienced at Octet is we see that Ohio is really interested in growing their startup economy as well as the support for clean energy. And, there are individuals I could, specifically call out in this that are really pushing this forward. But at the end of the day, even some of our politicians have been helping us in pushing legislation forward to get more jobs here, get more support here. So, we've worked really closely with BRITE, and it's been great to have them to make connections to everyone that's working in this space. And I think, something, because it's a smaller ecosystem, we've had points of contact with most of the aspects of it, and I just think it needs to continue to grow, and I think it needs to be even more interconnected with not only each other, but the greater community. So I think getting more support and more awareness from not just the people who are involved in the ecosystem, but those around it as well.
Let's take it a little more personally. 3 females working in energy tech, in startups. Talk to me about the challenges. Talk to me about being kind of the diversity, equity piece in an industry that's not very friendly to us historically.
All right. Yeah. So I was a chemical engineer undergrad, so I've kind of lived in the minority my whole education into career. So it doesn't feel that new to me, but that doesn't mean it feels that comfortable all the time. So I think, there's the little things where I am the only female in the room and, everyone will say gentlemen's and lady. So just little things like that where it is really known that I'm the only female is always almost like an elbow jab to the side because it's not differentiating the work I'm doing and what I'm trying to accomplish. And I think I just really would love to see more and more women in this field and especially, pushing this forward. There's, stats where female entrepreneurs that are actually funded, their success rate is much greater. So I think, just keep motivating and keep pushing it forward. But yeah, we're few and far between in the energy world, in the entrepreneur space. So we have to be loud and be proud and keep bringing people in.
Britt, your take?
It's interesting. I've been in startups, other people's startups. I've built them for 10 years. And finally starting my own has been interesting from the perspective of I had a lot of support and people have really championed me. And yes, I'm usually the only female in a deal flow room. And the conversations are very different. And I hate the word ambitious. Being told that it's an ambitious idea or anything like that. But I've had a lot of support from my network, which is amazing, but you're right. 98% of private funding is to white males, and even less than that from calculating like females, diversity.
Yeah.
So it's a tough road to navigate, but I think it's the road that we chose to navigate.
Yep.
Let's talk about how every individual here can get involved if they're interested, how they can keep in touch with what's going on. There is so much information out there. I think I get about 100 newsletters a week, and that's a lot for somebody to dive in. So what are good ways for everybody to dip their toes in?
I think just being more present in what's going on in the community. I mean, if you are passionate about sustainability or clean energy or anything, you can Google what's going on. I mean, BRITE Energy Innovators is really the only one in Ohio doing anything related to energy. So it's really easy to find.
I did not ask her to do that plug.
It's really easy to find. But it's honestly, we need more community partners and support. We need people from corporations, from banks, from technology companies, right? We need everybody to help us, because we're not going to get there by doing it ourselves. And if you care about having a planet, that's what it's going to take, right? We need everybody to start putting more pressure on the systems that be. It can't just be us. And, I don't have children, but if you have children, that's something to seriously consider of what's going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years, because, I don't want to sound like a huge tree hugger here, but it's not looking great.
Yeah.
The half of the United States is on fire.
Emily?
Yeah, I really liked what Britt said, just being present and being really aware and conscious of the decisions you're making in your day-to-day life and how they affect, the greater world. We were having a discussion right before this of, where we're getting our food from, thinking where we're getting our clothes from, things like that, and where are they going after you're done. So that's just like for the greater sustainability aspect of it. But yeah, I think, there's a million newsletters out there, a million podcasts out there. I think you kind of have to figure out which way you want to go, what you're really interested in educating yourself on. As far as, in the energy storage world, energy world, one thing I recommend that can dip your toes in that's on a lighter side is, I know Canary Media, they have podcasts and newsletters that can give you a broad scope, a little touch of different energy-related articles here and there, and just start learning a little bit more about where your energy is coming from and how you can push forward the clean energy transition.
And then one last ask, what would you tell the people here listening if there was one thing you could ask them to do to help push the movement forward in clean energy? What would it be?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Totally dropped that one on you guys.
We have 5 minutes left, right? I take 3 of those to think of my response. I honestly, I go back to this is a team effort. We need support, and even if you're in whatever level of role you're in at whatever company you're in, all partners matter and help any startups, any energy work that's going on, whether it's collaborating together, piloting with a startup, putting on an event, networking, handshaking with people. This is all just like our community, and we need more people to start embracing their power and making our generation the ones who are elevating the movement. That's going to happen.
Yeah, I say just have open conversation and look for opportunities. So an example I can give that happened recently, my aunt was talking about her company. She works for a software company, and they have these goals to, have net zero emissions by whatever year, which, is happening. There's so many announcements of this, what are the actual steps that are being taken? And from what she could tell, there isn't, there's not clear steps to get to their goal. So she was expressing this frustration to me, and one of the big energy uses in their company is their data centers. So I had a conversation with her about zinc batteries that are being used for backup power for data centers, and she said, I feel very comfortable talking to the CEO, and if you direct me to the right person to talk to in that company, we'll purchase those tomorrow. So little things like that. She's by no means in the energy world, in the clean energy world, but just within her organization, she's passionate about moving the clean energy transition forward, and she's active in doing it now.
Can I ask what position she is?
She's just a project manager for the company.
So it takes everybody.
Yep.
Every single one of you can ask, what can your company, what can your neighborhood do more in the sustainable economy? And there are people here who are here to help you. So any last shout outs from either of you? How can people connect? How can people stay in touch?
I think on the video, when they broadcast it or publish it or whatever is going to happen here, I'm not a producer. Sometimes, I won't talk about it, no. They'll have all our contact information, I'm assuming, and you guys can reach out there. Would that be correct to assume, to say? I got a thumbs up, so.
Excellent. Yeah, we're on LinkedIn is probably the best way to keep in touch with us. And we're always happy to have a conversation, and we are hiring. We are in the middle of a seed round for funding, so if you're interested in any of that, please talk to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you both ladies for your time. And
Thank you, Jing. Are you going to give a shout out to BRITE?
I guess I should. BRITE Energy Innovators. We do a newsletter. Follow us.
Excellent.